See you.
It's great to see you as well.
How are you?
It's good. We've talked a fair amount, but I haven't seen you for a good.
He was the clean-cut prince of American comedy. Sharp suit, perfect hair, a voice that could make cynicism sound charming. For over a decade, John Mulaney stood as the model of wit, control, and old-fashioned class in a chaotic industry. He wasn't just funny. He was flawless. But behind the perfectly written punchlines, something was breaking. The same man who made millions laugh about his anxieties was quietly drowning in them. How does a man who seems to have everything—fame, love, talent, respect—suddenly lose it all in front of the world? This is the story of John Mulaney, the boy from Chicago who dreamed of making people laugh, the comedy prodigy who conquered Saturday Night Live, and the golden boy who spiraled into addiction, rehab, and public collapse. It's a story of contradictions, of a man who lived his jokes until they nearly killed him. And yet it's also a story of survival, because from the ashes of scandal came one of the most brutally honest comebacks in modern comedy. This isn't just a tale of laughter. It's a reminder that sometimes the funniest people carry the heaviest pain. And for John Mulaney, pain was the price of perfection. John Edmund Mulaney was born on August 26, 1982, in Chicago, Illinois, the third of 5 children in a devout Irish Catholic family. His father, Charles Mulaney Jr., was a partner at a powerful law firm, and his mother, Ellen, was a respected law professor at Northwestern University. On paper, it was a household of intellect and stability. But for young John, it felt more like a world built on rules, expectations, and the constant pressure to be the good kid. He was a quiet, observant child, with a fascination for words and rhythm. At just 7 years old, he was memorizing sketches from Saturday Night Live and reenacting them in front of his family's fireplace. His heroes weren't athletes or rock stars. They were comedians like Steve Martin and Johnny Carson. Yet beneath that early humor was a deep sense of unease. Mulaney later described his childhood as both safe and strangely lonely. His family's rigid formality, combined with his own anxiety, taught him to turn discomfort into comedy. Laughter became his armor, a way to win affection and defuse tension before it ever began. When he was in grade school, he told a teacher he wanted to be on television. The teacher laughed, thinking he was joking. John didn't. He was already scripting his escape, one clever line at a time. After graduating from Georgetown University with a degree in English literature, John Mulaney moved to New York City, not to chase fame, but to chase a feeling. The energy of the city, the rhythm of late-night shows, and the sound of laughter echoing through small comedy clubs. It was the world he'd dreamed of since childhood. He started humbly, working as an office assistant at Comedy Central, but ambition has a way of finding its stage. Within a year, Mulaney pitched and co-created I Love the 80s 3D, proving his knack for sharp cultural observation. Soon after, he began performing stand-up full-time, drawing inspiration from the smallest details of everyday life: awkward encounters, childhood memories, and the absurdity of being human. In 2008, a life-changing opportunity arrived. He was hired as a writer for Saturday Night Live. Behind the camera, Mulaney's genius flourished. His timing was surgical, his wit disarming, and his characters unforgettable. Together with Bill Hader, he created Stefan, the eccentric New York club correspondent who became a cult favorite on Weekend Update. Though rarely seen on screen, John's comedic fingerprints were everywhere. His writing gave SNL a new rhythm, a mix of absurdity, elegance, and self-awareness that felt distinctly Mulaney. By his late 20s, his peers saw him not just as a promising writer, but as a voice, a comedian who could make honesty sound poetic and pain sound hilarious. By the early 2010s, John Mulaney had become more than just a name behind the curtain. He was stepping into the spotlight. His first Netflix special, New in Town, 2012, introduced audiences to a comedian unlike any other. Clean, articulate, and disarmingly self-aware, Mulaney didn't need shock value or profanity to hold a crowd. His humor came from precision, the way he dissected everyday absurdities with surgical calm, then delivered them with the charm of an old-school showman. Critics hailed him as the future of American stand-up. Fans fell in love with his sharp suits, nervous energy, and that unmistakable delivery, equal parts awkward and confident, like a man who's perpetually trying to keep his life together in public. His follow-up specials, The Comeback Kid 2015 and Kid Gorgeous at Radio City 2018, elevated him into comedy royalty. The latter earned him an Emmy Award, with routines that became instant classics, from his school assembly nostalgia to his hilarious take on politics and Catholic guilt. Mulaney's rise felt unstoppable. He sold out arenas, voiced the beloved Spider-Ham in Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, and even hosted Saturday Night Live multiple times, a rare honor for a former staff writer. To the world, he was the golden boy of comedy. Talented, disciplined, charming, and seemingly immune to Hollywood's chaos. The perfect mix of intellect and innocence. But fame can be a cruel mirror. Behind his carefully composed image, cracks were forming. The endless tours, the constant pressure to perform, and the private struggles he'd long buried began to resurface. The man who made millions laugh about anxiety was now living his own punchline, one that wasn't funny anymore. The world first began to notice something was wrong in late 2020. The pandemic had silenced stages everywhere, and for the first time in over a decade, John Mulaney wasn't performing. Behind closed doors, the man known for control was unraveling. Years of hidden addictions, alcohol, cocaine, prescription drugs, had resurfaced with a vengeance. In December, Mulaney entered rehab for the first time. Fans sent messages of love and support, believing he'd return stronger. But 3 months later, news broke that he had relapsed and gone back to treatment. The perfect, clean-cut image of America's favorite comedian suddenly shattered. Then came the shock that rippled through the internet. His marriage to artist Anna Marie Tendler had ended. Within weeks, tabloids exploded with rumors that Mulaney was dating actress Olivia Munn, and soon expecting a child with her. The internet turned brutal. Once adored as the wholesome, nice guy, Mulaney was now being accused of hypocrisy, deceit, and emotional manipulation. Podcasts, gossip sites, even late-night talk shows debated his downfall like it was public property. His name trended for all the wrong reasons. For a man who built his career on openness, this exposure was unbearable. The comedian who had joked about his neat, well-behaved image was now the center of chaos. Fame, which once protected him, became his cage. He disappeared from the public eye for months. No stand-up, no interviews, no laughter, just silence, therapy, and a slow process of facing himself. And when he finally returned, it wasn't with the polished smile of the past. It was with scars, visible, unfiltered, and raw. In 2023, John Mulaney walked back onto the stage, not as the polished perfectionist the world once adored, but as a man who had survived his own collapse. His Netflix special Baby J wasn't just another comedy show. It was a confession. Dressed sharply as always, he stood under the spotlight and told the truth. Every uncomfortable, shameful, absurd truth. He spoke about interventions, about friends who saved his life, about lying to everyone, including himself. And somehow he made it all funny. Painfully funny. The audience didn't just laugh, they understood. For the first time, Mulaney wasn't performing a character. He was performing himself. The perfect poster boy of American comedy had turned into its most honest voice. Critics called Baby J dark, brilliant, and healing. It showed a man reclaiming his story on his own terms, turning humiliation into art. Mulaney didn't ask for sympathy. He asked for understanding. Outside the stage, he began a new chapter as a father. His relationship with Olivia Munn and the birth of their son gave him what he once lacked: grounding, peace, and a sense of purpose beyond applause. The irony was poetic. John Mulaney's most painful period gave him his most authentic material. He wasn't the clean-cut hero anymore. He was human, flawed, and more relatable than ever. In a world obsessed with image, his honesty became his redemption. John Mulaney's journey is no longer just about comedy, it's about humanity. He showed the world that even those who make us laugh the hardest can carry the heaviest burdens. His story became a mirror for a generation that hides pain behind perfection and jokes behind exhaustion. Through Baby J and his raw honesty, Mulaney redefined what it means to be a comedian. He proved that laughter doesn't have to come from pretending everything's fine. It can come from surviving the worst and still finding light in it. Today, he stands not as the spotless idol he once was, but as something far more powerful. A reminder that truth, even when messy, can heal. His legacy isn't just the punchlines or the Emmy on his shelf. It's the courage to stand before the world and say, "Yes, I fell apart, but I'm still here." Because John Mulaney's story proves that sometimes the greatest comeback isn't about fame, it's about finally being real.